What's up, broods and broodettes? It's the Pico Dudes. I'm Jeremy Hidalgo, and with me is my buddy Sam.
You prepared nothing.
I prepared nothing. No
Yes.
snappy anything.
That's all right. But where are we?
We're in the new Pico Dude studio,
New studio.
also known as Sam's Man Cave.
Mm.
It allows us a little bit more elbow room in here.
I don't know if I like that phrase.
Well, I don't know what to say to that.
And-
Let's move past it.
And I think we're rolling some video today, right?
We are also rolling some video today, and we're trying some stuff out. So the next couple of weeks are going to be experimental.
Yeah, and you'll forgive me for my bungee corded hack job here. We are missing one piece that didn't make the transfer to the new studio. Once we have that, this will be even cooler.
Oh yeah, the C-clamp
The C-clamp.
on me. So we're going to get into this today. In case you're just tuning in for the first time, we are picking up some new subscribers and viewers through some of our alternate media channels.
We are.
Like YouTube, and you've tuned in to a show where we review Pico packs that are brewed
We
on...
rate the Muppets from sexiest to least sexy.
So how do you feel about Gonzo?
That's a big beak, dude. Moving on.
So anyways, we rate Pico packs that we brew on our Pico Brews,
Yes.
which is a machine that brews beer, and it has made my brewing life much, much more interesting.
Oh yeah, like absolutely viable. It's made brewing viable. You no longer have to be half wizard, half chemist.
Yes. Well, some might even say it's been resurrected. So I used to do a lot of home brewing prior to this. I would do all grain or extract brewing, and it just took an inordinate amount of time. I had kids. I got on with my life, and I have a lot less time to devote to things like that.
Fair enough.
So we review that stuff. We'll probably come up with an actual intro and get our podcast a little bit more professional
Yeah,
here
it's time
going
to get
forward.
this tight. We've only been promising for half a year.
It's mostly on me and stuff.
I love that you're just taking the blame for everything today.
Yeah, I'm down. I mean, it's not like I didn't pull all this stuff together,
Oh, not at all.
but anyways,
I come on every episode.
you do a great job
haven't missed
of
one yet.
making this entertaining because there is no Pico Dudes with just one guy. That would just be Pico Dude, and that's a lonely thing. So I don't know how we got off on this track, but what do we have today? Today you brewed what?
Yeah, we've been teasing this for a while. So this is kind of the first of a couple that we wanted to do a kind of a comparison with. I have brewed the Elysian Dragonstooth Stout, and this is actually one that I thought we had done a review on way back when we began, but
Nope.
we didn't. It was actually one of the first beers you brewed before we even decided, hey, let's make other people suffer along with us.
Yeah. No, it's one that I had brewed. I think it was like the second brew I ever did, and it turned out in
Right
my
after the
opinion,
Mike Hess Habitus, is that like the first brew that 50% of us did?
Yeah, I think that
Because
one
it came with the Kickstarter
That one and
machine
Tweeties.
And Tweeties, yes.
Yeah, and so I did those three were my first, and Dragon's Tooth was the first one. Like I got excited about Habitus. Oh, I did Brew for Your Die also. That one turned out well.
Yeah, but that was
but-
after, wasn't it?
Could have been.
I think you went after this one. This is like the first one I remember you ordered
Yeah.
specifically because it was your style. It was a beer that you often buy at the store, and you said, hey, I want to see if this new machine I got can actually make this beer that I'm really into.
Yeah, that's all true. I know I look perplexed, but I that's right.
Is it really?
I don't know.
The video says otherwise.
The video's throwing me off
He's
right
like,
now. No, it's right. I just it's
That was like a year ago.
yeah, it's been a while. I'm trying. I'm not
We've been doing this for a year. This is like episode 31.
31.
Woo!
31 and technically like 33 because we have 2 pilot episodes that I don't
They
count.
don't get numbers.
Yeah. Some might say we're better than some that got numbers.
Yes, they were probably much better than some that got numbers.
Anyways, so Dragonstooth Stout is one of my favorite all-time beers to drink. I'm pretty excited to try this one. It is an oatmeal stout.
What's an oatmeal stout? Because I don't even know what a stout is, and now you're adding other adjectives to the description.
Well, according to the BJCP, an oatmeal stout is a very dark, full-bodied, roasty, malty ale with complementary
I can't do full-bodied.
oatmeal flavor. The sweetness, balance, and oatmeal impression can vary considerably. So this, I believe, is actually one of the popular examples that they give.
Oh, yeah.
They've got commercial examples, and nope, I lied. It's not showing up on here.
Perfect.
There's a number of these different...
what are the ranges on the stats for an oatmeal stout? Do you know?
Yeah, so the vital statistics are the IBUs are between 25 and 40, SRMs between 22 and 40, OG, or original gravity, between 1045 and 1065, final gravity 1010, 1018, ABV 4.2 to 5.9.
So I don't think this fits the style, Jeremy.
Well... Do we have to start this over? Did I pick the wrong style?
No, you picked the right style, but this is one of those where you've got a brewing company that says we're going to go bigger and bolder than the traditional English oatmeal stout. So the beer I made up, and it's almost identical in the stats to what you're going to buy in the store, which we have today also, 8.1% alcohol.
8.1 is a bit above 5.9.
It is a bit above that. 56 IBUs.
Also... Not in the
not quite in the range, and 54 of SRM.
Oh, that's 14 more SRMs than the upper limit.
So many SRMs. And remember, we thought 40 was pretty dark. What did we just have with 40?
The Tractor Brewing Milk Mustachio, which was 40.
One of my favorite beers we've ever had out of Pico Brew. And I was like, 40, that's got to be the top of the scale. You know the scale goes to 80?
Yeah. It goes to 80?
It goes to 80.
Because that one looked black. Like,
I know.
It was a clear beer, and when you looked at it, it looked like it was black because it was just, like, it looked like it was opaque because it was so dark.
No, and it's not just, I mean, it's what we visually see, but they actually do a measurement where it's very mathematically complex, and you're measuring how much light passes through a centimeter of beer. So I guess to our eyes, it'll all look black, but you have more and more light blocking color in that beer as you go darker. So 54 SRM. And what's really weird is the high IBUs, because I don't think these are traditionally really high IBU beers. And I'm not sure, because I think I've had a sneak peek, that we're going to really taste all those IBUs, which is awesome, because I'm not really into tasting IBUs.
Yeah, one of the reasons I'm a fan of the dark beers is even though they usually come in at the high IBUs, they're not IBUs that you taste, really. They're usually balanced out pretty heavily by the alcohol content or the sweetness.
Yeah, so I don't know if you'd be willing to open and pour, and maybe I'll talk about Elysian Brewing Company a little before we get into this beer.
I would be down.
As I keep hitting myself on this mic.
Yeah, stop it.
I'm going to knock myself out.
I'm
sorry, did we get through? Do you want to talk a little bit more about an English oatmeal stout and I can pour?
Why don't we do that? Because I was just going to run through the history. We'll try and make Pico Dudes educational again. History. It's a variant of a nourishing or
all over the computers.
Invalid stouts of the late 1800s using oatmeal in the grist. Similar to the development of sweet stout that used lactose. Lactose, if you'll remember, that smells really good. Lactose, if you remember, was a additive included in the milk mustachio from last week's episode. And lactose does not break down in the fermentation, so it leaves that lingering sweetness to the beer, which is great. Basically, if you guys want to read it, go check out the BJCP. I'm done being super intelligent about this beer. It's a stout. They're wonderful. If you like dark beers, then
go try it. This is one of those prime examples of it.
God, I almost feel like this should be a dry run. My brain's been like going so fast to get here, get set up, finish up some things for work.
No, you're doing great.
I am not doing great.
You're doing great. And if we dry run, what happens, we'll do 3 of them. We'll be out of beer by the time we're ready to podcast. So just starting off, Elysian Brewing Company, this is one of, and we have a number of really famous breweries in the Northwest, but this is one of the most famous breweries here in Washington State. And I think part of their popularity is twofold. It's how present they are physically, and I'll talk about that in a minute.
Cool.
And how present they are in our grocery stores and our restaurants here in the Pacific Northwest. So, Elysian Brewing Company, they were started back in 1996 on Capitol Hill, a fun little district here in Seattle.
Yep.
A year later was when we started building out downtown, and we added in like a Planet Hollywood and GameWorks.
GameWorks.
They, a year in, were selected to come be the brewery and pub inside that GameWorks in downtown Seattle. So that was 1997. That was kind of their big lift. That got Elysian really rolling. They opened up another location. So they had about 3 different locations spread out. And then when they really entered our lives is when they created Elysian Fields. I don't remember that. It was probably around 2006 or so.
Maybe a little earlier than that, but yeah.
Yeah, they created that to, and it's right across from the stadiums. We got Safeco Field and we got Quest Field. It's right across the street.
CenturyLink. It is no longer Quest Field.
It's the Clink now.
It's the Clink. So
I can't call it the Kingdom.
No.
Kingdom Dome.
The Clink. It's where the Seahawks play.
It is the Clink now. The CenturyLink.
I've had some good times at Elysian Fields.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I mean, that place is massive. 400 people. It's just huge open floor plan. And so anyone who goes to sports in Seattle has probably had one or more days or evenings at Elysian Fields. And I knew that even before I knew the beer because I wasn't really a big beer drinker until we even started this.
Right.
And then the second piece, you can go to any grocery store around here and you're going to find Space Dust, Dayglow, Immortal, Dragonstooth Stout, Men's Room Red. These are the big beers that Elysian makes that are on in every grocery store and on most menus that you go to.
And they're all really
good in their own style.
The other thing is they've actually got a production facility right near where we work. So we have a number of breweries down near where we work in the south area of Seattle, but one of them is Elysian, and I can always smell when they're emptying the mash tuns. There's just this wonderful malty smell of cereal and grains in the air, and we don't pick up when they're doing any of their hops or anything. Yeah. It's just I think they're cleaning out the mash tuns outside.
It's hard to smell it over the homeless. the line of 28 RVs
city
that are broken down and then the 100 tents behind them.
You're never sure if that's hops or feet, and you don't want to take a big enough breath in through your nose to figure it out.
I love that. And I think the one thing, a lot of brewers, especially in that home brew community, the small brewery community, kind of lost their way with Elysian because Elysian, they were one of those small breweries made big. And then in 2015, they sold out to Anheuser-Busch.
Yeah, but they're still pretty good.
They're still awesome, but they are part of big brewery now. And you'd be surprised how many of these breweries you think might be local or small breweries have actually, Busch is one of the ones that have bought a lot of, is Red Hook Anheuser-Busch now too? I thought they were bought out too. So
yeah, they might have been InBev.
Yeah, so you have this couple conglomerates that so many of these now belong to. But you know what? They still make great stuff. What we're starting with here, and if you've got video, you actually got to see me pour. You got to see the big giant head that kind of grew out of that and now has kind of died down to the right size on the beer. We have a very dark beer here, so I don't know if you would say it's any darker than that other one we had. It all looks black to me.
Yeah, it's really hard. It's really hard to tell because...
But I think where you can see it is in the head. Is because you get that darker head off of that actual darker beer.
Yeah, and I'm wondering if that has to do with the lactose that was added into the milk stout because it was a lighter colored foam on that one. This one is just definitely a more tan head on it, and it is in accordance with the style, sort of a thick, persistent.
It was.
Yeah. And so, anyways...
And this one, as you can see, it's in a bottle. I know it's clear. I keep these in a very dark place. Don't worry. I like the clear bottles because I can see as I use them for beers. I can see if there's stuff left over.
Sure.
And, because I do a pretty deep cleaning process, but every once in a while you had too many and you didn't rinse it out right away and it sat for a couple days in the heat. And
what? You don't have that.
Never done that.
I will say this one, there's no contaminants.
No, it's got the right. So... I carbonated it naturally, so sugar in the bottle, rack to the bottle, close the bottle. That's a beer.
This one's good.
It's not bad. It's definitely not bad. So, and I even told you, well, this is the one, and some of you may have heard a few episodes ago that I said when I racked it, I've got in the habit now because especially with our packs that come with a ton of dry hops, what I find is I get about 4.5 liters out of those. And the dry hops, I think, are soaking up a lot of that liquid because when I pull them out, that's especially on one of those massive packs that's bursting your little triangle box. I find that they're just massively heavy and weighted down. You know that's the liquid that was there because it was light and dry when you shoved it in.
Right.
And I'm getting 4.5 to 4 3/4. So my 5th bottle, I'm only getting filled up to about here. So when I finish and I'm done in my brew keg, I have been going from a brew keg to a fermentation vessel, a bucket. I will add an extra about 1/3 of distilled water. And obviously the hops didn't soak up as much this time because I had extra. So after I got 5 full bottles of it, I had about 1 glass extra and I just poured it in. It's uncarbonated, of course, because it's just done fermenting. It's very, very, very light carbonation to it.
Do you add, like when you're done brewing, do you take the leftover liquid from your step filter and put it into the, okay.
I do.
I don't always remember to do that.
I have a way of kind of holding it and pouring it. But by the way, your grain soaked up liquid too.
Oh, yeah. That'll be dripping for a while after you brew.
So what I ended up doing was I poured it in a glass. It was uncarbonated. I took a taste of it. And then I took it and I sat down at my computer and I just did fantasy football. Oh, you're already going for seconds.
Oh, this is good.
I did some fantasy football and I sat there and I drank what to me was the most delicious chocolate milk I'd ever had until I had Jeremy's milk stout.
Yeah.
And this isn't as good, but it's still a good beer. So why don't we describe, because we're going to compare it to the real thing. We got a bottle of the real thing here. But why don't you start with what you're getting on that nose? Here we go with another pour, show the camera. That's a nice little...
I zoned out for a minute. Did you tell people that you actually use the 1450 on this?
I did not. See, I was keeping that in the bag. But
oh, I'm sorry. So did I let the yeast out of the bag?
I completely forgot. Guess what? I had mentioned I've been doing reclaimed yeast. We got that 1450 for the Stingray IPA a few episodes back. Every beer since, I have used that same yeast. Not like the same, you go to the store and buy the same kind, but the exact same yeast. So when I'm done and I have completely racked from my fermentation vessel into my bottles, there's all the crud left at the bottom there. All your trub and all
yeast
that.
Cake.
And I will pour a little bit of distilled water in there and I will swirl it up and then I'll pour it right into the next beer that is just finished brewing. It is just cooled. The wort is just cooled down and it's ready for the yeast. So instead of adding a smack pack or adding a dry yeast, I just swirled that stuff up, poured it in. And we've noticed it imparts a certain character to all of our beers. And I think on an IPA, it's not a good character. I think on something like this, it's a really good character.
Yeah, I'm really interested to compare this to the commercial version because the 1450 on this, I don't get some of the flavors that we were picking up
those
on
apple
the other
pies and those cobblers and
which by the way is not a bad flavor.
No, just different.
It just knocks it off from its original recipe.
No one expects the Spanish Inquisition.
Yeah.
Sorry, go on.
So,
I hope somebody got that. There's somebody who's laughing right now.
I think with this one, it's not like a Monty Python reference or something.
It is like a Monty Python reference.
With this one, it does a good job of smoothing out maybe the IBUs on it.
It really does. I get very little bitterness out of this. Enough that it isn't overly sweet, but it's not like
Yeah, and it's not an upfront bitterness. No. It's more of a bitterness that hangs around on the finish.
It is a finish bitterness. Yeah. But what's nice is it kind of cleans you off instead of leaving that cloying feeling in your mouth. Makes you ready for another sip, as you can tell, because we can't stop sipping it.
Man.
So you got on the nose, because it's got that 1450 in it. It lends a little bit of sweetness, I think. But I think that was also this dark malt.
Yeah, I can smell a roasty flavor, like a roasty aroma to this, like a roasted malt very heavily, almost like a molasses, or like kind of a burnt sugar, just a little bit.
It's got chocolate and it's got roasted barley, which is what I think you're picking up.
Yeah.
So out of that malt, pale and Munich, which are pretty much standard in almost all of these dark beers. That chocolate or another type of dark malt, which is standard and is given it SRM here. But then roasted barley and rolled oats.
Rolled oats.
That's kind of interesting. And then bittered with Magnum, and they've got Cascade and Centennial on the finishing hops.
Magnum are the really big hops.
Those are the really big hops. They're too big for me.
Anyways,
I don't even want to know where to go from there. And you've got, they're described as, and I'm just reading this off Elysian's website. It pours a deep midnight black with a tan head.
Agreed.
Smells of coffee and dark chocolate. I don't get as much coffee.
Yeah, I'm getting I don't know if I don't know if I smell the chocolate aroma. I'm getting like a dark roasted malt, like grain.
Agreed. And the mouthfeel is velvety smooth.
Agreed.
With flavors of roasted malts,
I concur.
oatmeal, and warm bread.
Yeah, like when you go to if you've ever been to an Outback Steakhouse and they bring you
the dark bread.
The dark
that's totally
bread.
This.
Yes.
And it almost tastes like chocolate bread, but it's not. That is completely this.
That is completely this.
That
This
is
would be amazing if you
genius.
could just like spread butter on it, get a bloomin' onion, you're set.
So, Dragon's Tooth, very drinkable stout, satisfying but not heavy. They describe the body as substantial, which I think it is. So, here's the other thing I noticed. Just like we saw with your beer, this is not a thinness. It has a much more substantial body and character to it.
That's a very good heavy. It's a good heavy beer. It is kind of like taking a bite out of a chunk of one of those bread loaves.
Yep. So, I think that we should get the other beer, maybe do a little comparison, and then we can throw a star rating at this.
Let's do it.
What do you think?
Hand me that thing. Let me finish this. This is so good, though.
You don't want to finish because I'm hoping we can do a side by. Well, we have more, so we can do a little. You want some more of that in this
Or
one?
do we have clean glasses for this?
Bum,
All right.
bum, bum. Imperial. I got myself a giant Darth Vader
Magnum.
2-liter growler or whatever liter growler, and I want to do an Imperial Stout in it. I just thought that'd be a lot of fun. So
That would be awesome.
what have I just done?
Did you just contaminate my...
Nope, that's yours.
Yeah.
I gave you more. This is also you.
This is also you, so you can have your cool little rogue dead guy.
So yeah, this is and I'll show it to our people here who are watching us. But I went to Walla Walla, really for a wine tasting trip, but did some beer stuff while I was there.
How can you not? We're the Pico dudes.
And we're the Pico dudes. And while I was there, I found because I always go to the farmer's market. When's the local farmer's market? I want to get fresh veggies to cook up. I want to get some snacks. I want to see what people are making. And there was a stand there that was taking bottles of beer and chopping off the top, rounding, so totally smoothing everything off.
With a ninja sword?
With a ninja sword. And creating glasses. So this is really just used to be a bottle of Dead Guy Ale, and you can see that. On the back is the whole description. It's even got the UPC code on the side.
Just like the bottle, because it is.
It is the bottle.
Yeah.
And what's neat, though, is they turned it into a glass, and I can't wait till I actually get to drink a Dead Guy Rogue Ale out of it.
So that will be cool. They actually sell a kit that you're supposed to be able to make those with
Yourself?
on Amazon.
Really?
Yeah, yourself.
We might have to try that.
Might be a future Pico Dudes episode.
All right. So how do we want to do this? You want to kind of compare some aroma? We show
All
them
right.
how it pours on yours. So let's start with the color. I'll hold up. The one in my hand is the one that I made.
That looks pretty spot on.
The one in
between
your
the two.
hand is, yeah.
This one is the commercial version, just
Yep.
like we have the bottles lined up here.
Yep.
The head is maybe very slightly darker on the
on
Pico
the one
Brew
I made,
version.
yes. Slightly darker. Now, keep in mind, I also don't cold crash.
Yeah, I think there's also a fair bit more carbonation in the commercial version. So,
I may have shaken that bottle up by accident, too.
did you? I think
Oh,
it's
no. Yeah, we
no,
do
it's-
have a
it's-
lot of carbonation.
Yeah,
Yes, you're
there's. So this is.
right. This is pretty spot on color.
It's pretty spot on. So this is something we noticed when we did first when I brewed this, and then we tried it the very first time. I did have a bottle of the Dragonstooth Stout to go along with it, and what I noticed was there was a little bit more carbonation in this one, and that was just, you can adjust the carbonation as a home brewer, so that's something completely under your control. But we did notice that it imparted a little bit sharper taste, a little bit sharper, crisper, and not necessarily in a good way. It kind of took away a little bit of the roundness, the fullness of the beer.
Yeah, I mean, it's like watching porn in high def. It might not be good to see all that clearly.
Oh, what about 4K?
Oh, no.
Or VR?
Is that an ingrown hair?
Oh, God.
No, I don't. I'm sorry. Everybody who's a visual thinker.
You just ruined. All right.
Just some things don't need to be high def.
So I'm going to... Aroma is not the same.
In fact, I would say it's missing almost. I'm not getting nearly as much out of it. What are you getting on the aroma on the store-bought?
I do. So I get a slight bit of that chocolate that they described.
Mm-hmm.
And I also get a little bit more hops coming through. There's like that.
I do get more hops.
There's a little, like in this one, there is no hops. I don't catch an aroma of hops at all. In this one, I do get an aroma of hops right up front. And now I'm gonna taste it.
Wait till you taste it. I just took a sneak taste.
Holy!
It's like blam, shotgun.
I have
two in the face.
This is super cool. So I have never taken a drink of Dragonstooth Stout and accused it of being hoppy.
Yes.
Like, I'm going, did I just drink an IPA? What the hell is going on? I've never done that before, but there is one stark difference between these two, and it's a presence of hops. Like,
massive presence of hops.
Other than that, the aftertaste, the middle taste that I'm getting is exactly the same. So there's a level of hops that, you know, and this is indicative of what we've seen with the 1450.
Absolutely.
The 1450 seems to take that hop bitterness and just shift it in the flavor spectrum a bit, or maybe even just shift it out of your beer.
Exactly.
It kind of overpowers it. And maybe it's just the batch that you got, and maybe it's the fact that it's been like reharvested multiple times. Maybe you've got some weird zombie strain of 1450. It's no longer Denny Khan's favorite. It's, you know, Denny Hop Gon's not I don't know.
We need more beer.
We do need more beer. I get more creative. I read an article that's actually a thing. People get smarter as they drink more beer.
I don't know about smarter.
Only to a point.
Is that point 3 sips in?
Yeah, probably.
It's all downhill from there. So I'm getting the same thing. I don't get as strong. I mean, I'm telling you, I get a lot of aroma out of the Pico Brew version and a lot more sweetness. I get a little bit thinner more aroma and with more hop on the store-bought.
It's only hop on the store-bought. Like, this is that nice, thick, just like we described, the bready.
Yes, that dark bread. I don't get quite the same. I don't know. What do you get? The same mouth feel?
No, the Pico Brew version is much velvetier.
Much more velvety.
Much more velvety. That's the correct English.
I think the Velvetier Rabbit was the sequel to the Velveteen
No,
Rabbit.
that's Mr. Velvetier. That's a sitcom.
Mr. Velvetier.
It was a rabbit with a big mustache.
It was. Poor guy.
So,
I gotta say, wow. And what I kind of wish, maybe we'll do an experiment, is if I could have this thick mouthfeel and pop a nose, but with a little bit of more hop in it. Because I kind of do like the hop in the store-bought version.
See, the thing is, though,
the store-bought version tastes like Angry Dragonstooth Stout.
Comparatively. Yeah, this one's giving you a dirty look. It's
It doesn't feel as drinkable, though, because I have it's more bitter.
A lot more bitter.
And I don't feel like I could just sit here and pound this.
No, and that, so the thing is, though, is like when you drink this beer as a standalone, your taste buds don't object quite as much.
They don't know.
I know,
They
but
don't
so
know.
when
It's
you
Plato's
drink
cave.
this one,
They've
yeah.
never been exposed to things beyond shadows.
When you drink this one though,
Yeah.
this is really good, and I keep coming back to this. So if I'm comparing these two, like, we'll give this one a star rating, and we'll forget the fact that it's a commercial beer. It's a good commercial beer. Still one of my standbys. I will pick one of these up at least once or twice a month and drink it. When I'm crying about my fantasy football team.
Oh, come on, everybody on my teams.
Same.
Let's
I had
all
dudes
get
getting
hurt
kicked
in the-
out and
Yes.
getting hurt, and anyways.
I'm down draft picks from the second and third round already. That's tough.
So these two beers compared to each other are different. They are.
It's nice when you're comparing things for them to be different.
Yeah. So this is a big difference between when I first brewed
Yes.
the Dragonstooth.
I think they were much closer.
They were
when you
much
did it.
closer. I
You
would
brought
say
it into work, didn't you?
I did. I brought both the
remember
bottle
trying
and
it. Yep.
the keg of this in,
And they were a bit closer.
They were I would say probably 85 to 90% there.
Mm-hmm.
These are probably about 70%.
Yep.
And so this one lacks the body and the mouthfeel that I want
And when
from
you say
this one.
When you say this
Sorry,
one,
the commercial version lacks the
body and mouthfeel.
the body and mouthfeel that I get from
Yep.
your Pico Brew version,
But
and the Pico Brew version lacks what I want with regards of the hoppiness. But I think that's a byproduct of the yeast that you used.
And this very well might be the Pico Brew version, a better example of an English oatmeal stout because they're not supposed to be 56 IBUs. That's not how they're traditionally made.
If the IBUs and the flavors and everything that we're supposed to be detecting are based on the commercial version, I would say the IBUs that we're getting in your Pico Brewed version are much less.
Like half.
Oh, it's
It's like a 20-25 IBU beer. It tastes
it's a
like.
huge difference between
Yeah.
the two.
So I got
Still both very good, but
Oh yeah.
but I like the Pico Brewed version better, and this is the second time in a row.
For this beer, for the Dragonstooth, you've done it once. I've done it once.
Yep.
We've both had each other's, and both times we've said, if I'm picking a beer to sit down and drink, I'm taking the Pico Brew version over the commercial version.
Yeah. I actually think the alcohol is probably higher in the Pico Brew version. So as I the back part
That's
of
all
the
that
tasting,
sugar I added.
yeah, it's at the back part of the tasting. Oh, wait till we get to the Monk's Uncle Triple that I did. I thought I screwed up the Pico pack, so I took the carbonating sugar and I just added it in and let it ferment. That stuff is hot. It's like, anyways.
You didn't do any gravities on that, of course.
No, but I should have.
That would be neat to have a system that did that for us, that actually measured true alcohol versus what it's just supposed to be.
Well, if only we could get like another sponsor, like the Tilt.
Ooh, I heard the Tilt is pretty cool.
The
I
Tilt
know
is
that
pretty cool.
there's some people on the Facebooks that have been using the Tilt and kind of
yeah.
bragging about it. Seems
There's-
like
Yeah, so that's super cool. It would be good to get our hands on one of those. The other thing is you can get Andy Lusk actually posted something in the Pico Brewers forum where you could go pick up
we miss you, Andy.
you could go pick up like a I don't know. I'm gonna mess up the word, so I'm just gonna say it's a device that you can look at
you
that
said
will
that
tell
right.
you the ABV
No
of
way.
a beer. Yeah.
It can't know. It needs to know original gravity to know.
Well, you use it prior.
Oh,
like
okay.
when-
So
yeah.
that makes more sense to me.
Yeah.
Okay.
So and it's on Amazon.
Did you see what I just did?
I did.
I pulled a
Did
little-
you just mix the two?
I pulled a little beaker.
That's good. You lack the requisite hair for beaker.
I do.
I'm gonna follow suit. Still not as good as the milk mustachio,
Yeah.
but honestly, it's not far behind.
I was gonna be. I think I'm about a 4 1/4 on the Pico Brew version of it. That's not bad, is it?
No.
You get a little more of that mouthfeel.
Oh my God,
Still got that hop. See, that's the better of the 3 beers right there.
that is the better of the three beers.
So just go make a Pico Brew version, mix it with bottles from the store, and what you have is a third beer that's like this weird Frankenstein that's like, I'm awesome.
So if this is the Angry Dragonstooth Stout, and this is just the Pico Brew Dragonstooth Stout, what did we just make?
Puff the Magic Dragonstooth Stout.
Oh, Dude. Puff the Magic Dragonstooth Stout gets a 4.5.
Yep.
The commercial version gets a 4, and I'm with you at the 4.25 on the Pico Brewed version.
Absolutely, man. Yeah, I will probably not make this one again. I mean,
You gave it a 4.25, but you won't make it again?
But here's what it's up against. That milk mustachio is what I kind of want to see if I can make, because it's
so good. It is really good. If you guys go buy the milk mustachio Pico pack.
This is the car with the V6, and it can be a ton of fun, but that was the same car with a V8 and better brakes and better shocks. And even though the first one is an Alfa Romeo Giulia, the Quadrifoglio is just, why would you go back and drive the Giulia? Even a TI.
You wouldn't.
You wouldn't. You'd want the Quadrifoglio. So that's why I'm saying I probably won't brew this again. If you haven't brewed either, I would encourage you to brew both.
Yeah, because people taste things differently.
Tastes are different.
Yeah, tastes are different. You may vehemently disagree with all of our assessments. The thing we're trying to do is show you what we came up with.
You have permission.
Tell you how we got there, and more importantly, just have fun.
Heck yeah.
Yeah. So.
Oh, and did I tell you I got a brew bag?
You got a brew bag?
I got a brew bag. So I have really not been as happy with my last few beers.
Mm-hmm.
And
not just because of the 1450, though.
I don't think it's just because of the 1450. I think part of it is because we redid our floors, and I didn't want to put a cooler full of water on the floor anymore. So I stopped putting my beers in a cooler full of water.
Being insulated by the water so that you had a lot less swing in the temperature variation.
Yeah. And instead, I was just fermenting in my house at whatever temperature the house goes to. And if you check my Pico Firm,
yep,
bang, 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 and like my house,
like
goes,
how many degrees though? How many degrees?
My
of
house
variation?
will change 8 degrees in 15 minutes in the morning.
But do your brews change?
They were.
That
my brews
well?
were going 6 to 7 degree swings, and they were doing it in about half an hour increments.
Yeah, that's rough on the yeast.
It's horrible on the yeast. It tortures them. And
even the last one, like when I did the milk mustachio, so I've got the brew bag and I keep it in my basement basically, and I had
right next to the bodies.
Yeah, right next to them because they help insulate. You use water. I go Dexter style. Anyways,
you're using dead serial killers.
Yes.
I mean, that's
and plastic,
like, easy to find.
And rolls of plastic.
Those are really not in the aisle at Home Depot.
I just shove them in the brew bags, and then I put a bunch of brew bags around another brew bag.
It's like altered carbon style.
There we go.
Let's put a sleeve around it.
Yes.
And so you've been keeping it down there, and you've had a really consistent temperature.
Yeah, so the best one I've had has been, right now I've got 3 that are fermenting, and they've been maintaining within 1.5 degrees. A lot has to do with the weather. You look like you're going to say something.
I was.
But the milk mustachio didn't vary more than 2 degrees. Sorry, 2 degrees on that. And I think that is one of the things where if you want to improve the way your beer turns out, the taste of your beer, the cleanliness, the sharpness when you're drinking it, that is the first thing you can do is control your fermentation.
Especially for you Pico brewers.
Oh, yeah, because you've nailed the other hard part, which is getting the wort bang on.
You've nailed it. You hit the button. You came back 3 hours later. You've nailed that.
You went and mowed your lawn. You came back, and it was perfect.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of the Pico brew, because that's another way that has a lot of fluctuation and difference on the beer. But that's been perfect. You know, we've talked about water.
Yep.
But hopefully we've gotten everyone moved to distilled water. And
you know what?
You didn't. You
I haven't used distilled water in the actual brew keg for a while now. Like for my last 4 or 5
You
brews.
need to descale. Are you just lazy?
No. I don't need to descale. I'm using distilled water in my Pico system in the reservoir on top.
Yeah.
But I'm not putting it in the actual brew keg. And I actually feel like I'm getting a better result.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot more flavor in our water.
Yeah.
We have great water here.
We do have great water here.
They bottle our water and send it all over the world. You buy bottled water in our stores, and it's probably the same water that came out of it. They literally had a bottling facility just taking tap water here in Seattle and putting it in bottles, and I mean like big brand name, and shipping them all over the country.
It tastes amazing. We buy bottled water only because we get lazy every once in a while and we grab it, but I like to walk out the door, but I don't notice a difference between my water that I drink out of the tap versus, anyways, all of that aside.
So you've been making with tap water.
I've been making with tap water in the brew keg. I still put distilled water in the reservoir of my Pico C.
Okay.
And I've liked the results a lot better since I've been doing that. There was a weird, for a while I was using the distilled water, and I don't know if I was screwing something else up in the fermentation process or what, but I kept getting this weird, almost a diacetyl off flavor, kind of that, I don't know how to describe it any different than it's like a slick kind of mouth feel on your tongue that's just, it's a little bit weird.
Go on.
So I haven't had that since I've used
Say more.
Since I stopped using distilled water in the brew cake. Not that I'm recommending that for the rest of you folks.
Mm-hmm.
Stop being weird. Why don't you get a little closer to that mic?
Okay.
All right. We've talked a lot. This is a 41-minute episode. Should we wrap it up?
I thought it was so short. I'm like, how do we vamp for time? We should wrap it up. And maybe we'll try another beer, and people can get a double episode.
Yes.
Double episode. There's like arrows coming at me right now. Double episode, right? You're not going to do that, are you? Fuck.
I might put one.
I'm just going to sit here in my corner with my bungee corded microphone.
People can see you. There is no corner. Fuck.
So we're going to relabel this beer.
Yeah.
And we're going to look forward to talking to you guys again soon.
We're going to rename this from Puff the Magic Dragon to Fuck.
Explicit warning.
Pico Dudes out. You've reached the end of another episode of the Pico Dudes podcast. Connect with us at picodudes.com, Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter. And if you enjoyed our show, we'd love for you to subscribe, rate, and give us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts, but mostly iTunes. Also, if you want a code that will help give you some discounts off of the Pico Brew equipment, Z150D equals $150 off of the Z Series. Pro, P-R-O, 125D gives you $125 off of the Pico Pro. And C75D gets you $75 off of your purchase of a Pico C. We hope you enjoy listening. Look forward to hearing from you. Pico Dudes out.